The moment I took that microphone from my husband's hand, I knew 100 people were about to witness the performance of his life, just not the one he rehearsed. My name is Elena Marsh. I'm 49 years old, and 3 weeks before my 25th wedding anniversary, I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of my husband whispering behind our bedroom door. His voice carried that strange, electric excitement you hear in someone planning something big, something they think is brilliant. I lay there in the dark, every muscle frozen, listening to fragments of a conversation that would unravel my entire world. "We have to time this perfectly," my husband Victor was saying into his phone. "She can't suspect anything. Not until it's too late." The voice on the other end was his mother, Judith. Even through the door, I could hear her cold, satisfied tone. "Of course not, darling. She's never been the sharpest, has she? This will be seamless." My chest tightened. What were they planning? And why now? Just weeks before we were supposed to celebrate a quarter-century together. The hardwood floor creaked as Victor ended the call and slipped back into bed. I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing my breathing to stay steady. He settled beside me, but his body was rigid, restless. He wasn't sleeping. He was scheming. The next morning felt like walking through a stage set. Everything looked normal, but nothing was real. Victor was suddenly affectionate in a way that felt rehearsed, mechanical. "Elena, sweetheart," he said, kissing my forehead as I poured coffee. He smelled like expensive cologne, the kind he only wore for important meetings. "I was thinking we should really go all out for our anniversary. Book somewhere incredible. Make it a night no one will forget." I looked up at him. In 25 years, Victor had never once been enthusiastic about celebrating us. I planned every birthday, every Valentine's Day, every milestone while he showed up and criticized the details. This sudden eagerness sent ice through my veins. "Sure," I said carefully. "Whatever you think is best." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then he rushed off to work, leaving his phone on the kitchen counter. The screen lit up with a notification. A calendar reminder. "Call her at 10:30 a.m. "Victor," I called out casually, wiping down the counter. "Who's are in your contacts?" He froze in the doorway. For just a second, I saw panic flash across his face. Then he recovered, smoothing his expression into something neutral. "Oh, Robertson. A consultant from the Boston office. Just a work thing." A lie. I knew my husband's tells after 25 years. When he lied, his jaw tightened and he wouldn't look directly at me. Both were happening now. "I see," I replied with a smile. But inside, my heart was pounding. Once he left, I stood at the window overlooking our street in Richmond, Virginia, watching the autumn leaves tumble across the pavement. 25 years. We'd met in college when I was studying finance, and he was climbing the corporate ladder. We married young, believing in forever. We'd wanted children desperately, but it never happened. The doctors found no medical reason, but the miracle just never came. Victor took it harder than I did, especially after his mother started making passive-aggressive comments about carrying on the family name. Eventually, we accepted our childless life. We threw ourselves into careers, travel, building something together. But somewhere along the way, the foundation cracked. I just hadn't realized how deep the fracture went. A knock at the door pulled me from my thoughts. Judith Kane stood there with her signature icy smile, the one that never touched her eyes. "Elena, dear," she said, sweeping past me into the house without waiting for an invitation. "How are the anniversary preparations coming along?" Judith had never once called me her daughter in 25 years of marriage. It was always Elena, dear, with that thin veneer of politeness covering complete indifference. "We're working on it," I said, leading her to the living room. "Good, good," she replied, her eyes scanning the room like she was appraising it. I knew that look. It was the same one she'd given me for 2.5 decades, silently measuring me against her mansion in the suburbs and finding me lacking. "You know, Elena, I've been thinking about the future. Victor isn't getting any younger. He's 52 now, and well, since there are no children to think about, perhaps it's time to consider estate planning." My stomach dropped. "Estate planning? Just a precaution," she said breezily. "My nephews, Maxwell and Thomas, are such good boys. They're studying, working hard. If something were to happen, it would be a shame for everything to just vanish into legal fees and government coffers, wouldn't it?" I set my teacup down slowly. "And what does this have to do with me?" "Oh, nothing troubling," Judith said with a wave of her hand. "I'm just curious. Where do you keep the property documents? The deed to this townhouse? Just in case, you know. It's good to know where things are. There it was. The real reason for her visit. She wanted to know where the papers were, probably to figure out how to take them from me. They're in the safe, I said flatly. Why do you ask? Just thinking ahead, dear. One can never be too prepared. After she left, I sat in the silence, piecing together the fragments. The midnight phone call. Victor's sudden burst of enthusiasm. Judith asking about property documents. The mysterious are in his calendar. Something was coming, and I needed to know what. I went to Victor's laptop. For 25 years, he'd used the same password. The date we first met, October 14th, 1999. I typed it in. Access denied. My heart started racing. He'd changed it. In a quarter century, he'd never felt the need to hide anything from me. I tried his birthday. Nothing. I tried his mother's. Nothing. Then, on a hunch, I tried our wedding date in reverse. It worked. The browser history opened, and what I saw made my stomach turn. How to file for divorce with shared property. Spousal rights and asset division. Legal strategies for keeping real estate in divorce. He'd been researching all of this for the past 2 weeks. My hands trembled as I scrolled through page after page. How to protect assets during separation. Legal loopholes in property division. How to minimize spousal claims. My phone buzzed. It was my friend Trisha. Elena, I don't know how to tell you this, she said, her voice tight with urgency. I just saw Victor at a jewelry store in Short Pump Town Center. He was with a woman. Young, maybe early 30s, blonde, very done up. They were looking at rings. She was all over him, Elena. Holding his arm, kissing his cheek. I'm so sorry. What did she look like? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Thin, blonde, expensive clothes. She had this hard look about her, you know? Like she knew exactly what she wanted and how to get it. Thanks for telling me, I said quietly. But nothing was okay. Nothing at all. That evening, Victor came home with roses and a box of artisan chocolates. For my beautiful wife, he said, kissing me on the lips. My one and only. One and only. The irony was suffocating. Victor, we need to talk, I said, looking him straight in the eye. About us. About our future. He tensed, just slightly, but I caught it. Talk about what? Everything's fine, isn't it? The anniversary is next week. All our friends will be there. Let's not get heavy with serious conversations right now. We can talk after. Okay, after. That meant something big was planned for the anniversary itself. He wanted an audience for whatever he was about to do. Okay, I said, pretending to accept it. After the party. But inside, I felt something cold and sharp settling in my chest. After 25 years, I knew my husband. He was planning something calculated, something involving his mother, and probably a lawyer. What Victor didn't know was that I had something he'd forgotten about. Something that was about to turn his entire plan to ash. And I wasn't going to tell him a thing. The next morning, I woke with a knot of dread in my stomach, like I was living in the aftermath of a tragedy I hadn't fully processed yet. Victor left early, claiming he had meetings. I watched him go, knowing exactly where he was headed. At 10:30 a.m., the landline rang. Victor had left his cell phone on the kitchen counter, face down. I didn't answer, but the voicemail picked up automatically. V, it's Mom. I spoke with Mr. Rodriguez. Everything is in place. The key is making sure she doesn't see it coming until the very last second. Call me when you're free. Rodriguez. Not Robertson. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. I walked over to Victor's phone. It needed a passcode. I tried the date we met. Nothing. I tried Judith's birthday. Nothing. Then, on instinct, I tried March 15th. International Women's Day shifted by a week. It unlocked. The messages told me everything. Rebecca, my love, just a little longer. After the anniversary, it's all going to be resolved. The townhouse will be ours. The response. V, you promised we'd be together by Christmas. I'm tired of sneaking around. His reply. Baby, everything is going according to plan. Mom has taken care of the details. Rodriguez says if we handle this right, she'll only get half. I keep the townhouse. I sank into a chair, my hands shaking. They were planning my life like I was a piece of property to be liquidated and divided. Victor, his mother, the lawyer Rodriguez, and this woman Rebecca, all tangled in a conspiracy where I was nothing but the target. I scrolled further. Hey Mom, are you sure the townhouse deed is in both our names? Maybe we got lucky and it's just mine. Judith's response. Son, I saw the paperwork when you bought it. Both names are on there. But Rodriguez says there are ways around that. The important thing is getting her to sign the waiver. Victor again. And if she refuses? Judith. She won't refuse. Not after what we're planning to do at the party. She won't have any choice. What were they planning to do to me? My throat tightened with rising panic. Without hesitation, I forwarded the most damaging messages to my own phone, then put Victor's phone back exactly where I'd found it. I needed help. I needed a plan. I called Maya Torres, my college roommate who'd become a family law attorney. We hadn't spoken in months, but our friendship had always been solid. Elena, she answered, surprised. It's been forever. What's going on? Can we meet today? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I need legal advice. Of course. Come by my office at 5. We'll talk. Maya's office was downtown in a sleek high-rise. She hugged me when I arrived, but her expression shifted when she saw my face. Sit down. Tell me everything. I took a deep breath. Let's say a friend of mine is in trouble. Her husband wants a divorce, but he's hiding it. It looks like he's setting some kind of trap. Maya studied me for a long moment. Elena, are we really talking about a friend here? I was silent. Then I told her everything. The late-night calls. The messages. Rebecca. Judith's scheming. The lawyer Rodriguez. All of it. Maya listened, occasionally taking notes, her expression growing darker. This is serious, she finally said. But you're not defenseless. The good news is you found out in time. Tell me about the townhouse. When did you buy it? Whose name is on the deed? We bought it in 2008, I said. Both our names are on it now. Do you work? Yes, I'm a senior financial analyst at Piedmont Capital Group. I've been there 17 years. Good. That matters. Now here's the thing, Elena. In a divorce, everyone gets what's legally theirs. No one can force you to sign away your rights. But clearly they're planning something ugly. Some kind of public humiliation. Maybe an accusation designed to break you emotionally, so you'll just give in. You need to be ready. How do I prepare? Gather evidence. Screenshot everything. Record conversations if you legally can in Virginia. Move some funds into an account in your name only. And most importantly, don't let them know you know. Let them think they still have the upper hand. For the first time in days, I felt something like hope. I had a strategy. I had backup. Thanks, Maya. What do I owe you? She smiled. Nothing. Friends don't charge friends. Just keep me updated. And remember, no matter what happens, you're not alone. I drove home with renewed determination. But what I found when I got there told me the war had already escalated. Victor was standing by the hallway mirror, adjusting his collar. You look a little worn out, don't you think? He said without looking at me. I mean, I'm not trying to be cruel, but Elena, you've really let yourself go. Turning 50 isn't the end of the world, but you need to take care of yourself. Go to the gym, see a dermatologist, do something. I saw Trisha's daughter yesterday. She's 32 but looks 25. Very polished. And you? Well, you understand. He was comparing me to younger women, setting the stage to justify what he was about to do. I have a work thing tomorrow, he announced suddenly. Saturday, but it's going to take all day. Another date with Rebecca. That's fine, I replied calmly. And Sunday I'm helping Mom set up her new entertainment system, coordinating with his co-conspirators. That night, after Victor went to shower, I checked our joint bank account online. In the past month, $32,000 had been withdrawn in multiple transactions. Gifts for Rebecca. Payments to Rodriguez. God knows what else. All with our shared money. A bitter laugh escaped me. They were using my own money to orchestrate my destruction. But then I remembered the letter that had arrived a week ago from a law firm in Oregon. My Aunt Miriam, my mother's older sister, had passed away. She'd never married, never had children. She'd left her entire estate to me, her only niece. A condominium in Portland valued at $850,000, a brokerage account worth $620,000, and a rental property in Scottsdale, Arizona. Total value, over $3.2 million. I hadn't told Victor. I'd wanted to surprise him on our anniversary. Now that inheritance was my lifeline. I opened my laptop and began researching how to claim the inheritance, transfer the funds to a personal account, and legally protect myself from the people who saw me as nothing more than an obstacle. Victor thought he held all the cards, but the game was just beginning. Monday morning, I drove to see Mr. Callahan, the real estate attorney who'd handled our townhouse purchase years ago. Elena Marsh, he said warmly when I entered his office. It's been years. How's Victor? Mr. Callahan, I need your help, I said, sitting down. And it has to stay completely confidential. His expression turned serious. I'm listening. Do you remember our townhouse on Grove Avenue? You handled the closing in 2008. Of course. Beautiful property in a prime location. Do you recall where the down payment came from? Who actually purchased it first? He frowned, pulled an old file from his cabinet, and flipped through it. Here it is. Interesting case, actually. The initial funds came directly from your parents' account. According to the gift deed, you were listed as the sole recipient. Victor was added later, after you married, as a spouse. My heart pounded. So legally, it's a premarital asset? Technically, yes. Your parents gifted it to you before Victor's name appeared on the title. In a divorce, that could be significant. He'd only have a claim if he could prove he invested substantially in renovations or improvements. Victor had never spent a dime on the townhouse. I'd paid for everything. Could you prepare documentation proving this? I asked. Absolutely. Come back Wednesday afternoon. I'll have it ready. Leaving his office, I felt a surge of power I hadn't felt in weeks. I was no longer the victim in their story. I was the one holding the cards. When I got home, a courier was waiting with a thick envelope from Oregon. The final paperwork for Aunt Miriam's estate. I read through it carefully with the help of the summary letter. A Portland condominium worth $850,000. A brokerage account with $620,000. The Scottsdale rental property generating $3,500 monthly income. More than $3.2 million total. I sat down in the living room, letting it sink in. I was now a wealthy, independent woman. But Victor couldn't know. Not yet. My phone rang. It was Victor, his voice artificially cheerful. Elena, sweetheart, I've been thinking. What if we really make this anniversary celebration something special? Invite everyone, colleagues, friends, the whole circle. Really show them what a strong marriage looks like. Show them. The words made my skin crawl. He wanted an audience for my humiliation. Isn't that expensive, Victor? Don't worry about the money, he interrupted. It's already taken care of. I've reserved the ballroom at the Jefferson Hotel. We can have 100 guests. Everyone needs to see how perfect we are together. 100 witnesses to my destruction. Whatever you think is best, I said quietly. Perfect. I have meetings with some partners this afternoon. We'll talk tonight. Partners. Right. That afternoon, Judith showed up with a gift bag. Elena, dear, she said in that syrupy voice. This is for you. A little pre-anniversary present. Inside was a business card. Rodriguez and Associates, Family Law, Divorce and Property Division. With a handwritten note. Complimentary consultation anytime you need. The audacity was breathtaking. They were giving me a consultation with the very lawyer plotting against me. How thoughtful, I said, my voice flat. I worry about you, Judith said. You never know what the future holds. It's good to be prepared. After she left, I searched through Victor's jacket and found another copy of Rodriguez's card with notes scribbled on the back. Asset concealment strategies. Emotional leverage tactics. Victor came home late that night, reeking of expensive perfume and carrying a giddy energy. Everything's in place, he said, pulling me into an embrace I didn't want. The hotel, the caterer, the guest list. It's going to be unforgettable. He was right about that. Just not in the way he imagined. Victor, what cologne is that? I asked. That's not yours. He hesitated. I got in the elevator with someone from the office. You know how perfume clings. Another lie. By the way, he continued, moving toward the window. At the anniversary, I'm giving a special speech. About our journey and our future. What future? I asked carefully. You'll see. It's a surprise. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 1 a.m., I heard murmuring in the hallway. Victor was on the phone again. I crept to the bedroom door and listened. Mom, everything's perfect. The hotel's booked. Guests confirmed. After the toast, it all happens. You're sure she doesn't suspect? Judith asked. How could she? She's always been naive, trusting. Even now, she believes everything I tell her. And if she refuses to sign the papers, she'll sign. After what I say to her in front of everyone, she'll have no choice. Everyone will see what she really is. Then she'll go straight home where Rodriguez will be waiting with the documents. Quick, clean, no drama. And Rebecca knows the plan? Of course. She's even coming to the party. I'm introducing her as my new project coordinator. I want my colleagues to meet her. You're ruthless, Victor. I'm practical, Mom. 25 years was enough. I deserve happiness too, even if it's at her expense. I slipped back into bed, my mind racing. Rebecca was going to be at the party. She'd witness my humiliation, then step into my life like she'd earned it. That's what they thought. The next morning, I went to the bank and opened a personal account. I transferred half the joint savings, $28,000. If Victor wanted to keep spending on his mistress, he could do it with his half. Then I went back to Mr. Callahan and picked up the documentation proving the townhouse was mine before the marriage. Next, I stopped by my office. Mr. Patterson, I said to my boss, can I speak with you privately? Of course, Elena. Is everything all right? I'm entering a difficult personal situation. A divorce. I wanted to let you know ahead of time that it might get messy, but I promise my work won't be affected. He frowned. I thought you and Victor were solid. You even invited me to your anniversary. That's exactly why I'm telling you. Things aren't what they seem. I just need to know I have your support. Elena, you're the best senior analyst we've had in over a decade. Whatever happens in your personal life, your position here is secure. That night, while Victor was at another meeting, I laid out all the documents. The Oregon inheritance papers, the bank statements showing my new personal account, the proof that the townhouse was legally mine before marriage. Tomorrow was the anniversary. Victor thought he was delivering the killing blow. He had no idea he was walking into an ambush. I put all the papers in a leather folder and smiled. For the first time in 3 weeks, I felt something close to peace. Thursday morning, I went to a notary to formalize the Oregon inheritance documents. The notary, an older woman with kind eyes, reviewed everything carefully. Your aunt was a remarkable woman, she said. Very organized, very thorough. Everything's in order. The accounts will be accessible within 5 business days. I thanked her and left, feeling the weight of financial security settling over me like armor. That same afternoon, I went to check on the anniversary party arrangements at the Jefferson Hotel. I needed to see the battlefield. Standing near the entrance, I saw her. A young blonde woman in an expensive designer coat, talking animatedly on her phone. Darling, it's gorgeous, she was saying in a voice dripping with satisfaction. The ballroom is huge. The decor is stunning. You promised we'd live in a beautiful townhouse soon, and I can already picture hosting parties there. Rebecca, Victor's mistress. She was standing 15 feet away, already planning the life she'd steal from me. I studied her. Pretty early 30s, perfectly styled hair, manicured nails, designer everything. But her eyes were empty, calculating. There was no warmth there, just ambition. Of course tomorrow will be difficult, she continued into the phone. But you said after your speech she'll understand. And I'll be there as your project coordinator. It's kind of romantic, isn't it? Romantic. Publicly destroying your wife is romantic. I walked past her toward the event coordinator's office. Rebecca didn't even glance at me. I was invisible to her. Just some middle-aged woman who didn't matter. Tomorrow I'd matter. The event coordinator, a cheerful woman named Patricia, greeted me warmly. Mrs. Marsh, your husband already paid for everything. The ballroom's ready for 100 guests. Premium catering, live quartet, full open bar. How much did all this cost? I asked. With everything included? $47,000. Your husband wanted the absolute best. $47,000 to humiliate me in public. Can I see the ballroom? Of course. The space was breathtaking. Vaulted ceilings, crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, pristine white linens on every table. The stage at the front had a professional microphone setup. Everyone would have a perfect view of the spectacle Victor planned. Where will the speeches be given? I asked. Right here, center stage, Patricia said. Mr. Marsh specifically requested the microphone be positioned so everyone in the room could hear clearly. Of course he did. Maximum visibility for maximum humiliation. I drove home, my hands steady on the wheel. At the townhouse, Victor was pacing with papers in his hand. There you are, he said, quickly shoving the papers into a drawer. Where were you? Checking on the party. It's impressive. You think so? Not too much. $47,000 is a lot for one night, Victor. He waved dismissively. The money's there. Don't worry about it. What matters is the impression we make. The impression, or the spectacle. That evening, Judith arrived, vibrating with excitement. "Victor, darling, are you ready? Did you practice your speech?" "Every word, Mom. It's going to be perfect." She patted his arm. "Your speech will be powerful. Everyone will understand why you're making this choice." This choice. My husband was choosing another life, another woman, and planning to announce it like a corporate merger. "Mom, what if she makes a scene?" Victor asked. "She won't," Judith replied confidently. "Not with 100 people watching. She's too proper, too concerned with appearances. She'll hold it together until she gets home. And Rodriguez will be waiting." I stood in the kitchen doorway, listening to them plot. The rage inside me was cold, focused. Later, after Judith left, Victor locked himself in his study. I heard him rehearsing his speech, voice low but clear enough to catch fragments. "Dear friends, today marks 25 years of a decision I made with good intentions. But life changes. People evolve. Sometimes courage means admitting when something has run its course. Run its course. Like I was a business venture being liquidated. I'm grateful to Elena for these years, but honesty demands truth. We've become different people with incompatible visions. I've made a choice." I walked back to the bedroom. I'd heard enough. The next morning, Victor woke up energized. "Elena," he said, knotting his tie in front of the mirror. "Today everything changes." "Our anniversary," I said quietly. "More than that. Today is about new beginnings. For both of us. Both of us." As if we were moving forward together when he'd already planned my exile. "Victor, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Did you ever really love me?" He froze, tie half done. "What kind of question is that?" "Why now?" "Just curious." "Of course I loved you," he said without meeting my eyes. "In my own way." In his own way. Like you love a reliable appliance that served its purpose. "I understand," I said. The rest of the day, Victor was a whirlwind of phone calls, checking details, barking orders. By evening, he was visibly nervous. "Are you ready?" he asked when I emerged in an elegant navy dress I'd bought specifically for this night. "Ready. Then let's go. It's time for everyone to know the truth." The truth. I picked up my purse where the folder of documents waited. Yes, time for the truth. We drove in silence. Victor's fingers drummed anxiously on the steering wheel. I watched the city lights blur past the window. 25 years ago, we'd ridden in silence to the courthouse to get married, both of us nervous and excited. That silence had been full of hope. This silence was the calm before detonation. "Elena," Victor said as we pulled up to the hotel. "No matter what happens tonight, I want you to know I hope you find happiness." Hope I find happiness. The cruelty of those words made me want to laugh. "Thank you, Victor," I replied with a serene smile. "And I hope you get exactly what you deserve." The ballroom at the Jefferson Hotel was stunning. 100 guests filled the space, dressed in cocktail attire, champagne glasses in hand. White roses and gold candles decorated every table. A string quartet played softly in the corner. At the head table sat the guests of honor. Me and the man who'd spent 3 weeks plotting my destruction. I smiled and accepted congratulations, playing my part perfectly. But inside, I was counting down. "Elena, you look radiant," said Simone, a colleague from work. 25 years together. That's so rare these days. "Yes," I said, glancing around the room. "Very unexpected. All of it." In the corner near the bar, I spotted her. Rebecca, Victor's mistress, introduced to everyone as his new project coordinator. Young, polished, expensive dress, laughing at something a colleague said. She looked comfortable, confident, like she already belonged. "Victor Marsh, congratulations on your milestone," said Mr. Douglas Chun, the CEO of Victor's company, shaking his hand. "It's rare to see marriages last this long." "Thank you, sir," Victor replied, his smile tight. "Tonight is very special. I've even prepared a speech." My throat went dry. Judith moved through the crowd like a queen holding court, soaking up compliments about her wonderful son and his lovely wife. Her eyes gleamed with anticipation. She knew what was coming. At a small table near the back sat a man in his 50s, dark suit, serious expression. I didn't know him personally, but I'd seen his photo online. Mr. Rodriguez, the lawyer. He was here in case I needed to sign something immediately. In case the shock broke me enough to surrender. "Ladies and gentlemen," the master of ceremonies' voice rang out over the microphone. "May I have your attention? Victor would like to say a few words in honor of his wife. The room fell silent. Everyone turned toward the head table. Victor stood, took the microphone, and smiled broadly at the crowd. Friends, thank you for being here on this significant night. 25 years is no small milestone. It's a quarter century with one person. Guests raised their glasses, smiling. I've spent a lot of time reflecting on our journey, Victor continued. About what brought us together, what sustained us, and what didn't work as well. The room grew quieter. People exchanged uncertain glances. And I've realized something important. People change. What feels right at 25 can feel wrong at 50. What seems like destiny can turn out to be a mistake. Mistake. There it was. Victor, what are you saying? Someone called out nervously. He held up his hand. Let me finish. I need to be honest with all of you, and with myself. For 25 years, I've been in a marriage with someone who isn't right for me. A marriage that's become stale, suffocating. I deserve more. Shocked murmurs rippled through the room. Victor, have you lost your mind? A woman gasped. No, he said calmly, emboldened. I'm finally thinking clearly. Elena needs to hear this. Our marriage is over. I'm filing for divorce. The room erupted. Some gasped. Others covered their mouths. Judith smiled from her table, triumphant. Furthermore, Victor continued, his voice rising, I expect a fair division of assets. Elena will need to vacate the townhouse. It's time for a fresh start, new relationships. He looked pointedly at Rebecca, who stood near the bar, barely suppressing a victorious smirk. Is this a joke? Someone shouted. Are you seriously doing this here? I have every right to pursue my happiness, Victor replied coolly. Elena will receive what's legally hers, and we'll part ways civilly. And yes, I've already met someone who understands what I need. Someone who values me. That young woman? Is she your replacement? One of my friends yelled, pointing at Rebecca. Rebecca is a remarkable person, Victor said openly. Unlike some people, she gets me. That was enough. I stood slowly and walked to the stage. I gently took the microphone from Victor's hand. His expression shifted from confidence to confusion. Thank you, Victor, I said in a quiet, measured voice. Very honest. The room went silent. Everyone expected tears, screaming, a breakdown. They expected me to run. You know, dear friends, I continued, my voice steady, Victor is right about one thing. Enough pretending. It's time for the truth. Victor's face paled. This wasn't in his script. The truth is, I've known about this entire plan for 3 weeks. I knew about Rebecca. I knew about Mr. Rodriguez, who's sitting right there in the back, trying not to be noticed. I knew about the scheme to force me to sign away my rights to the townhouse. Mr. Rodriguez stood abruptly, trying to slip toward the exit, but angry guests blocked his path. Elena, what are you talking about? Victor stammered. That your plan just collapsed, darling. I pulled the folder from my purse. You see, you made one critical error. Our townhouse isn't a marital asset. It was a gift from my parents to me, in my name alone, before we married. I have the legal documentation right here from the real estate attorney. Victor took a step back. That's impossible. And there's more, I continued, my voice gaining strength. 3 weeks ago, I received notification of an inheritance from my aunt in Oregon, a condominium in Portland, a rental property in Scottsdale, and over $1 million in liquid assets. Total value? More than $3 million. The silence in the room was absolute. You could hear champagne bubbles fizzing in glasses. So, Victor, what property division did you have in mind? You'll get half of the weekend cabin and half of your sedan. Everything else is mine. Rebecca, against the wall, turned white as paper. Oh, and the best part. I smiled. Do you know how much your brilliant plan to publicly humiliate your wife cost? $47,000 from our joint savings. Money that was half mine. The guests erupted in outrage. People were standing now, pointing, shouting. But I'm not vindictive, I continued, my voice cutting through the chaos. Victor, you're free. Take your remarkable woman and build whatever life you want. Just not in my townhouse. Not with my money. Not on my foundation. I paused, looking directly at Rebecca, who looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her. I'm filing for divorce Monday morning. Mr. Rodriguez, you can leave. Your services won't be needed. I have my own attorney. I placed the microphone on the table and turned toward the exit. Behind me, the room exploded into chaos. Victor Marsh, you're a disgrace, a man's voice boomed. 25 years and you pull this stunt. How could you humiliate her like this? A woman shrieked. In front of everyone? Rebecca tried to slip away quietly, but a group of furious guests surrounded her. And what about you? Someone demanded. Homewrecker. Did you think stealing someone's husband would be this easy? Do you have no shame? She pushed through them, her face red, tears starting to stream. This isn't what he told me. He said she was awful, that she'd agree to everything. That's what they all say. Another woman spat. Judith was at her table, trying to explain to anyone who would listen, but no one wanted to hear it. People turned their backs on her, gathering their things, making their exits. I walked out of the ballroom and into the cool night air. Freedom. I paused at the hotel entrance and looked back through the massive windows. Inside, everything Victor had carefully constructed over 3 weeks was crumbling in real time. He stood in the center of the ballroom, alone, pale, looking like an actor who'd forgotten every line. The microphone lay on the floor where I'd left it. Guests were yelling, pointing, some filming on their phones. Mr. Douglas Chun, Victor's CEO, approached him with a face like stone. Victor Marsh, this is appalling. After this display, I'll need to seriously reconsider your position with the company. This kind of judgment, this kind of character, it reflects on all of us. Mr. Chun, please, you don't understand, Victor stammered. Elena twisted everything. She made it sound worse than it is. Twisted? Simone from my office interjected. We all heard what you said. 25 years with someone who isn't right for you. A stale, suffocating marriage. You said those exact words. In another corner, Rebecca finally made it to Victor, grabbing his sleeve desperately. V, what just happened? You promised me a townhouse. You said we'd have money. Where is everything you promised? Not here, Victor hissed, looking around frantically. We'll talk later. Why not here? Rebecca's voice rose hysterically. You made me wait for 4 months. You said after the divorce we'd live like royalty. Now what? She has everything, and you have nothing. People turned, phones out, recording every second. Rebecca, please, Victor begged. You're making this worse. But she was past caring. You want to know the truth? She shouted to the room. This man courted me for 4 months. He bought me jewelry with his wife's money. He promised me a luxury townhouse in the city center. He said she was weak, stupid, easy to manipulate. Rebecca, shut up, Victor yelled, but it was too late. And he took out loans, she continued, her voice breaking. $35,000 from Atlantic Union Bank. Another $18,000 from SunTrust. He used your joint assets as collateral. He spent it all on me, on this party, on the lawyer. He thought she'd never find out. The room fell into stunned silence. Even I hadn't known about those loans. Judith, who'd been trying to stay invisible, rushed forward. Victor, what is this woman saying? What loans? What inheritance of Elena's? Mom, not now, Victor muttered, his face gray. Not now. Judith's voice cracked. I took out a second mortgage on my house to pay for Rodriguez's retainer. $30,000. How am I supposed to pay that back? Another gasp from the crowd. Wait, let me understand this, someone called out. The 3 of you conspired to deceive Elena? 4. Rebecca shot back bitterly. The lawyer Rodriguez was in on it too. He was going to corner her at home tonight, make her sign away her rights while she was emotionally destroyed. Everyone looked toward the corner where Rodriguez had been sitting, but he was long gone. The lawyer had abandoned ship the moment the plan started sinking. Coward, Judith hissed. This is all your fault. She turned on Rebecca. You seduced my son. You drove him to this insanity. Your son. Rebecca laughed, a harsh, broken sound. Your son chased me. He told me his wife was boring, that manipulating her would be simple. He's a grown man who made his own choices. 2 men had to step between them as Judith lunged forward. What an absolute disgrace, a woman said loudly. Mr. Chun, doesn't Elena work for you? She does, the CEO said firmly. And she's one of the best senior analysts I've had in nearly 2 decades. After witnessing this circus, the only thing I'm doing Monday is giving her a raise. As for this man, he looked at Victor with pure contempt. He should start looking for new employment. With this reputation, he won't get far in this city. Victor stumbled between his mother, his mistress, and the sea of disgusted faces, trying to salvage something, anything. People, you have to understand, he pleaded. I have a right to be happy. 25 years is long enough with the wrong person. My Aunt Lorraine, a dignified woman in her 70s, walked up to him. And did you think about how Elena felt, living 25 years with a selfish snake like you? Aunt Lorraine is right, my cousin Marcus added. What kind of man does this? You don't belong in this family. Good thing Elena found out when she did. Hey, should we post this online? A younger guest asked, holding up their phone. Let everyone know who Victor Marsh really is? Definitely, others agreed. We need to trend #anniversary betrayal or something. No, wait, Victor begged, his voice desperate. Don't do that. This is private. Private? Rebecca laughed through her tears. You just humiliated your wife in front of 100 people, and now you want privacy? Slowly, guests began leaving. First my family, shaking their heads. Then my colleagues, whispering amongst themselves. Then mutual acquaintances who wanted nothing to do with the scandal. As they left, each one delivered their verdict. Victor Marsh, a former friend said coldly. Don't ever contact me again. What a stain on this community, a neighbor muttered. How will he show his face anywhere after this? You're garbage, a man said bluntly as he passed. You put your wife on display like she was a joke. 30 minutes later, only the architects of the disaster remained in the ballroom. Victor, Judith, Rebecca, and a few staff members watching the drama unfold with wide eyes. So what now? Rebecca asked, fixing her smeared makeup in a compact mirror. Do you even have any money, Victor? Where would I get money? He snapped. I spent everything on this party, on you, on the lawyers, on the loans. And who's going to pay those back? Judith demanded. $53,000 in loans, plus my second mortgage. How, Victor? I don't know, he said, slumping into a chair. Maybe I'll sell the car. The car? Rebecca let out a bitter laugh. Are you insane? That won't even cover half the debt. What about me? I left my ex-boyfriend for you. I burned bridges. I don't know what you want me to say, Victor repeated helplessly. Judith sat down, her face in her hands. I'm 71 years old. I might lose my house because of your foolishness. Rebecca stood, smoothing her dress, picking up her designer purse. You know what? I'm done. Both of you are utterly useless. Victor, don't call me. Don't text me. Consider whatever you spent on me a payment for this life lesson. She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Your wife is a strong woman. A smart woman. It's a shame I only realized that tonight. Those are the women who deserve respect, not whatever this was. The sound of her heels echoed as she disappeared into the hallway. Victor and Judith sat alone in the ballroom, surrounded by half-eaten meals and spilled wine glasses. The string quartet had packed up and left an hour ago. Victor, Judith said softly, what if we go to Elena tomorrow? Apologize. Maybe it's not too late. Victor shook his head slowly. It's too late, Mom. You saw her face. That wasn't anger. That was finality. She'll never forgive us. Then what do we do? I don't know, he said for what felt like the 100th time. I honestly don't know. Meanwhile, I was in the back of a car service, heading home through the illuminated streets of Richmond. In my purse were the deeds to 3 properties and bank documents showing over $3.2 million in assets. All mine. All protected. The driver, a kind older man, glanced at me in the rearview mirror. Good evening. Yes, I said, smiling genuinely for the first time in weeks. A very good evening. Life-changing, actually. Those are the best kind, he said. They really are. And it was true. Everything had changed. In one night, I'd reclaimed my dignity, my assets, and my future. The man who'd planned to destroy me had destroyed himself instead. 3 months later, I sat in a courtroom watching the final chapter of Victor's downfall unfold. He looked a decade older. Gray hair where there used to be dark brown. Deep lines around his eyes. A bargain store suit instead of the tailored ones he used to wear. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, reviewed the documents methodically. The court has reached the following decision, she announced. The townhouse on Grove Avenue is determined to be the separate premarital property of Mrs. Elena Marsh and is therefore not subject to division. Victor's face crumbled. His attorney, a young overworked public defender who'd replaced the vanished Rodriguez, could only shrug helplessly. The weekend cabin is deemed marital property and will be divided equally. The same applies to the 2019 Lexus sedan. Your Honor, the public defender stood weakly. My client relies on that vehicle for his work. Denied, the judge said crisply. The vehicle was purchased with marital funds. Mrs. Marsh is entitled to half its value. I said nothing. My attorney, Maya, smiled slightly beside me. Furthermore, the judge continued. It has been established that Mr. Victor Marsh concealed substantial debts from his spouse. $35,000 from Atlantic Union Bank, $18,000 from SunTrust, and various smaller loans totaling $12,000. Combined debt of $65,000. But those were for personal expenses, the public defender protested. Shouldn't they be considered separate? Under state family code, the judge replied, debts incurred during marriage are typically joint responsibility. However, since evidence shows these funds were used for extramarital affairs and deceptive purposes rather than family welfare, Mr. Marsh will bear sole responsibility for repayment. Victor went even paler. $65,000 in debt. All his. This court hereby dissolves the marriage between Victor Marsh and Elena Marsh, the judge concluded. The petitioner retains the townhouse and all associated accounts. The respondent retains half the cabin's assessed value and half the vehicle's assessed value. No alimony is awarded as there are no dependent children. This matter is closed. The gavel struck, ending 25 years in a single sound. Outside the courthouse, Victor caught up with me on the steps. "Elena, wait," he called, clutching a folder of papers. I turned. My ex-husband stood there, diminished, desperate. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I was a selfish fool. You didn't deserve what I did." I studied him. Was it genuine remorse? Or just regret that his plan failed? "Victor, I don't hate you," I said calmly. "We're just different people. You wanted an easy life at someone else's expense. I believe in fighting for what's mine. Could we maybe stay in touch? As friends?" "No," I said gently but firmly. "It's better if we each move forward separately." I walked to my car, a sleek new Audi I'd purchased with part of the inheritance, and drove away. Life continued, and everyone got exactly what they earned. A month after the divorce finalized, Victor lost his job. The video from the anniversary party had gone viral. Over 2 million views. Hashtags like #AnniversaryBetrayal and #CarMeIsReal trended for days. His company's CEO wanted nothing to do with the scandal. Victor Marsh, Mr. Chen had told him on that final day. "I can't have someone on my leadership team who creates this kind of spectacle." "But I'm good at my job," Victor protested. "Perhaps, but your reputation is destroyed." "I'm sorry." Finding new work proved nearly impossible. Every potential employer Googled his name and found the video. The man who'd publicly humiliated his wife at their silver anniversary. No one wanted to hire him. He ended up driving for a rideshare company in his old Honda Civic, which he'd bought back from me for $8,000, half its value. He now lived with Judith in her small 2-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of the city. She'd been forced to sell her suburban mansion to cover the second mortgage and mounting debts. "Victor," she'd say at night, staring at the water-stained ceiling, "don't you wish you'd never met that Rebecca woman? Never started this whole mess?" "It's too late for regrets, Mom," he'd reply, counting his meager daily earnings. Too late for regrets. That had become his life's refrain. As for Rebecca, she landed on her feet just fine. 6 weeks after the scandal, she married a 53-year-old entrepreneur who owned a regional auto dealership chain. He had money and wasn't particularly sharp. He believed her story about escaping a toxic situation with a married man who'd deceived her. Her wedding photos on social media showed designer gowns and exotic floral arrangements. The caption, "Finally found real love. New chapter begins. #blessed #new beginnings." Victor saw those photos one night while scrolling on his phone. He let out a hollow laugh. Rebecca got everything she wanted, a wealthy husband, a comfortable life. Just not with him. My life took a completely different trajectory. I moved to Portland, into Aunt Miriam's beautiful condominium overlooking the Willamette River. It was spacious, filled with light, decorated with Miriam's eclectic art collection. A sanctuary. I didn't want to be a financial analyst anymore. With the inheritance secured, I opened a small independent bookstore specializing in rare editions and regional authors. It was something I'd dreamed about for decades, but never had the courage or resources to pursue. "Elena Marsh," Mr. Patterson had said when I submitted my resignation. "We hate to lose you. Are you absolutely certain?" "I am," I replied with a smile. "I found my passion. I'm dedicating myself to books and community." "Well, after everything that happened with your ex-husband, you've become something of an inspiration here. Many of our team members admire how you stood up for yourself." "A woman has to know her worth," I said simply. One evening, Maya came to visit the bookstore. You look genuinely happy, she said, browsing the shelves. Do you feel vindicated? I thought about it while preparing tea in the back room. I don't think about it as vengeance. I think about it as liberation. I didn't destroy Victor. He destroyed himself. I just refused to be his victim. The truth always prevails, Maya said. Even when it takes time. We sat in the reading nook, watching the city lights reflect off the river. Do you regret those 25 years? She asked. No, I said honestly. Those years taught me something invaluable. To rely on myself. To value honesty above comfort. To know that my worth isn't determined by someone else's opinion of me. My bookstore employed 4 people, young literary enthusiasts who loved connecting readers with perfect books. We hosted author readings, book clubs, poetry nights. It became a gathering place for the community. Elena, said Claire, my assistant manager, one afternoon. My aunt told me she was at that anniversary party. She works in the same building as your ex-boss. She said there aren't many women like you. I'm not special, I replied, shelving a new shipment of books. I just decided not to accept being treated as disposable. A year after the divorce, a letter arrived. Victor's handwriting on the envelope made my stomach tighten, but I opened it. Elena, I don't know if you'll read this. I just need to say that I understand now. You were the best thing in my life. I lost you because of greed, stupidity, and selfishness. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that you deserve every happiness in the world. Be well. Victor. I read it once, then filed it in a drawer in my desk. No anger. No sadness. Just a memory of a life I'd left behind. That evening, I stood on my balcony with coffee, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Portland stretched out before me, full of possibility. Music drifted up from a street performer below. The air smelled like summer rain and blooming jasmine. I was free, financially independent, doing work I loved. And for the first time in decades, I felt genuinely, completely happy. Across the country, Victor drove his rideshare through Richmond streets, picking up passengers, thinking about how someone can lose everything in a single night of arrogance. Because the truth always wins over lies, even when it takes a while to arrive. And karma doesn't forget. It just waits for the perfect moment to deliver exactly what you've earned. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and devastatingly precise. Sometimes it's a woman standing on a stage, taking back her microphone, and calmly dismantling 25 years of being underestimated. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about refusing to let them destroy you. And that night at the Jefferson Hotel, in front of 100 witnesses, I learned that the most powerful thing you can do isn't to seek vengeance. It's to simply tell the truth and let it do the work for you.